The Badgers got hit hard again, but buried under that loss were real signs of growth. Painful? Yes. Hopeless? Not quite. I'm Rajiv. He's Justin. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
Welcome to the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajiv and Justin, back together on a Sunday evening to talk about all things Wisconsin Badgers. On today's show, the Badgers just took one on the chin in Bloomington, a 31-7 loss to number 2 Indiana, where Fernando Mendoza carved us up. The offense disappeared after halftime, and a scary injury to Gideon Ituka had everyone holding their breath. But tonight, we're not just wallowing. We're talking about what we actually learned. Carter Smith's first start as a true freshman, the pass rush getting home for 5 sacks, how the defense hung in for a half, and what these last 2 games may, in fact, look like. Then we'll flip over to the hardwood because Wisconsin basketball is off to a 3-0 start with 3 double-digit wins. Big nights from Blackwell, Winter, and Boyd, and a team that already feels fun. Football frustration, basketball optimism, we're hitting all of it. Let's get into it. You can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate all the support for the show. Justin, how are you, man? Happy Sunday.
I'm doing okay. I apparently we'll have to check in with Ryan and make sure that he's doing all right. I came out of Saturday seeing pretty much what I expected to see. Sunday, I don't know what's wrong with the Packers. They're broken. They're whatever at this point. I give up.
Yeah. I mean, my team didn't play this week, but
we lost our starting running back. So
yeah. The NFL is a little crazy today. Let's what am I clicking around here with? There we go. Let's start off as we always do with our 3 and out. Justin, give me your 3 and out for this week.
Yeah, well, as far as the Badgers, we continue to see the signs of the young linebackers. 2 more sacks from that group. You get one for Catalano, one for Mason Posa, who is now tied for the team lead in sacks with 2 whole starts. So that tells you both how impressive he's been and also how bad our defense was before these young guys started playing. And then as far as for the Big Ten, I'll go Big Ten, but this one's going to carry over into my bigger picture. The Big Ten's looking pretty darn strong from the playoff picture. Rest of the country, not so much. The SEC, I would have thought that Alabama would have kept it going. They lose to Oklahoma. I don't know any of those teams that I look at that I'm like, these are powerhouse teams. Like they're really complete teams. And I think the Big Ten probably has the 2 best teams in the country right now in Ohio State and Indiana. Like, I think those are the 2 most complete teams we've seen this year.
Yeah, the SEC did struggle a bit yesterday. However, I will say, Texas A&M, one of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen. 30-3 at halftime, and they came back to win. It was unbelievable. Just unreal. Like, what the hell happened? My Badgers take is that Gideon Ituka is going to be starting running back on this team next year, even over Dylan Jones, potentially. Like, if Dylan Jones returns, I feel like Gideon Ituka has earned the right to be our feature back. I think he's just been he just runs on a different level than what we've seen. My Big Ten take, USC Oregon next week. That's going to basically decide if the Big Ten gets 4 or 3 teams in the playoff. Probably. Because if USC loses, they're out. If USC wins, I think Oregon stays in, and USC is going to definitely climb their way into the playoff if they win. So I would like to see 4 teams in there. So I'd like to see USC win.
So are we saying that we don't think a 9-3 team's making it? Effectively, is that kind of where we're at? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, do we think nationally anyone that's 9-3 gets in?
I mean, I'm sure that I just don't know. I don't have the records in front of me. I'm not sure where people are as far as that. I just think I know that you're gonna want to put in a so USC's right now 17th, and they're going to probably where they're 16th now. The playoff rankings come out on Monday, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that. Yeah, you're right. A 9-3 team's not getting in. There's definitely no way a 9-3 team's getting in. Like
I'm
if Oklahoma
totally
loses
okay.
again, if Alabama loses again, yeah, there's too many good 2-loss teams for there to be a 3-loss team in the playoffs.
It'll be really interesting to see how they parse out the 2-loss teams, because I think the Big 12 is going to end up getting screwed, which in this case, looking at the teams this year, I think they probably should. I think that's a one team or one bid team or one bid league this year. I just haven't seen anybody there that I look at and I'm like, they can really hang with the top guys.
Well, I mean, Tech and BYU, we'll see. I mean, Tech obviously can, but yeah, BYU had a good win yesterday. And then my national take, it looks like the Broncos changing the guard in the NFL. Beating the Chiefs was a big one, but my actual
feel great.
I mean, it doesn't for me only because I wanted the Broncos to lose because we're competing with them for the number 1 seed, and I didn't want to have another team with 2 losses. So that's just my own selfish thing.
That's fair.
Wrote down.
But I'm really over the Chiefs at this point.
Yeah, we play them next week. So once I get past that, then it's fine. I don't know. I feel like they might still make a comeback. But anyway, my national take that I wrote down was that my brother-in-law always says this: organizations win titles. Like the Patriots have been bad for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden here they are good again. And teams try for decades to be good and to draft and do all these things right. But then you have organizations like the Patriots, like the Steelers, that no matter what they have going on, they'll turn around quickly because they understand how to draft. They understand that you build from the inside out. You build from the lines and then you move out. And I have to give it to the Patriots. As much as I hate them, that team is good again, and they're going to be good for a while probably. And they've got a good coach. They've got good lines. They've got a good quarterback, and they're not going anywhere. And it pisses me off. I hate it.
I'm taking my flowers on that one because I legitimately thought that Drake May was going to be the best quarterback out of that team. For whatever reason, everybody had him like 3rd or 4th. And I'm like, what am I missing here that you guys keep getting locked in on? He's the one that actually looks like a quarterback. I feel like you're getting too hung up on the athleticism with some of the other guys.
Yeah.
He looks like the best quarterback out of the group.
All right, man, let's get into the 31-7 loss yesterday to Indiana. Obviously not what we want to see, but I think there's still a lot of good that can come from it. Give me your overall big picture thoughts a day later as you look back at this game.
Yeah, it's pretty much comes down to this for me. It's a better coach team in Indiana, and they probably have the number 1 pick in the draft as their quarterback. And that pretty much was what it took. Not that Wisconsin played poorly in this game, but in order for Wisconsin to be able to have a real chance, they needed to play an average offense. And Fernando Mendoza is a stud. He's legitimately, in my opinion, he's the first guy I've seen that I look at it and I'm like, he reminds me of Aaron Rodgers with some of the things that he does. Just the way he carries himself on the field and some of the throws, the body mannerisms and some of the things that he does when he throws the football. It reminds me of him in terms of the accuracy and just the ability the arm talent in terms of some of the things he can do. So to me, it was always going to be a matter of time before he figured it out because he's just too good of a quarterback. And I do think we see it with Becker on that team where you look at it and you see how good of a coach team they are, that you have a guy who is barely used as a wide receiver who's now just a stud suddenly in the second he gets opportunity. And you also look at it and go, why does Wisconsin not have a 6'4" guy that we've been kind of percolating for like the last year and a half that's ready to come out onto the field and be able to make some plays? Because we don't even have a body type like that. Like we get it next year with Pettit, but like we never take a risk on those type of guys that seems to have that type of frame and has the ability to kind of grow into that role.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. I overall, like you, I wasn't that displeased. And I think that's upset some people. You know, I started a Twitter thread yesterday just talking about how I was fairly proud of the effort and everything. And then it went on for days, people going back and forth on it, not really talking at me, but just in general. But there's a lot of mixed like emotions out there about, you know, well, you're too positive, you're too negative. Look, ultimately for me, I knew what this game was going to be. We all did. We called a very similar score. I said 31-10. You had 27-7. Yeah, like either way, like it was fairly close and for what we expected, which for me, I'm like, We already know Luke Fickell's going to be the coach. That's already been set in stone. So therefore, we already know we're getting a lot of this coordinators back. Certainly, you'll see some changes, but we're going to have another year of this regime. And all I want to see is growth that we can build on next year, because we're not doing anything this year. We were never going to win that game. Am I upset that we didn't see much more offense in the second half? Yes, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But I also just feel like in the end, it was a game we didn't get absolutely destroyed. It was a game that we were in at halftime. We absolutely put the fear of God in them. They went back at halftime. They had to come to Jesus meeting. They had to figure it all out. We definitely scared them in the first half. Our defense is real. We did cause problems. I mean, yes, they scored 21 points. We also gave them 2 short fields. We also gave them, it was a fumble and an interception. So it was a solid game that had a result that we frankly expected. And that's about as big picture as I can look at it. I just feel like that's where I'm at with it. And I know people are like, oh, we're just celebrating mediocrity. That's something that someone sent me a message and said that. And I'm like, but what else do you expect?
So I think that the issue that people are having is that you and I have resigned to the fact that it's not going to change. So we need to look at the things. I'm in evaluation mode at this point. I don't want Fickell back, but this is where we're at. So now I have to look at it and start to look at things and say, what do I feel like needs to be changed in order for us to make next year a quality year? And one of those things I wanted to see is I want to see Carter go out there and show some growth over these next 3 or 4 games, where you look at it and are like, is he a guy who can challenge in the spring and potentially grow enough that you think that he's ready to compete with somebody that you bring in the portal, who maybe Carter's going to have the edge in knowing the offense by that point. And really low key, if Wisconsin gets the opportunity at 5-7 to get into a bowl game based off academic rate, you damn well better take it. You need every practice you can get for Carter heading into next year. I don't care about you need the young guys. If this is what you're going to do and you're going to have a youth movement next year, you need these guys to get as many practices in as they can possibly have heading into the spring.
I'm sure we'll take that.
Last year we didn't. And this year I want to see us put it. Now, last year was obviously a different situation, but the way I look at it is you need to get everything you can to prep this team and figure out where your weaknesses are and what you need going into next year. Now, anyone that came into this game thinking that Carter was going to play lights out or be good, even good, you were delusional. He had 1 week of full first team reps. That's not going to happen. You just don't have the comfort level in the offense at that point in order to be able to play at a high level. And you sent a all 22 photo to me where Carter just flat out missed Tretch. It's
wide open down the middle.
We're talking 35-yard gain probably for Tretch if Carter's understands the defensive flow and where guys are moving post snap. He would have been just running wide open for at least 30 plus yards on it. That is the type of thing that you're not going to see this year. And people that expect the offense to be good, if we're going to win these games against, these next couple of weeks, it's going to be a low 20s game, but the defense is going to have to play lights out. The thing I will say is I think the defense is capable of playing lights out against both of these teams. Indiana has a significantly better offensive line than either Minnesota or Illinois. We saw 5 sacks against Mendoza, who is far and away better than either of those teams' quarterbacks. They absolutely can make those teams very uncomfortable. And I don't think they're going to be able to run on them. So it's going to be very one-dimensional. Do I think that Illinois and Minnesota can run on Wisconsin? I don't. And that means you have 2 quarterbacks that are going to have to make enough plays for them to win those games. I don't think they have the weapons.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna talk about what we expect from those last 2 games. I think my primary thing right now is winning those last 2 games. I wanted to see us compete. We weren't going to win this game. We weren't going to win this game. We were going. We
this one we knew was a loss.
We just had to compete and look a little bit better, get more reps for Carter, have the defense continue to do well, and that's exactly what I saw, which is why I'm not upset about it. In fact, I felt like the effort that was put out by this team was really good. We fought hard. Now, you could argue the second half wasn't there, but I watched all 22 on the offense. I haven't watched the defense yet. But the offense, there were the all 22 in the second half was like 10 minutes because there were hardly any plays. We just 2 bad turnovers. We kind of got stuck in in short drives. We didn't really do anything, and we only had 23 yards of offense. That's obviously an issue there. But I think in the end, you could still look at it and say, okay, decent things. Defensively, Justin, let's talk about that a little bit more in detail. Certainly, posted 12 tackles, a couple sacks. We got 5 sacks on Mendoza. What did you feel were like the key contributions to that defense, and what impressed you the most about the defense yesterday?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is just disruption. Like, it's amazing how much those young linebackers and their instincts has changed everything. Because it, to me, feels like teams are really uncomfortable with trying to deal with them, which is causing mistakes. Like we saw Peterson get loose. And some of that is, I think there's a lot of offensive lines really trying to get to that second level and get their hands on those two, because they know if they don't, they're going to make plays. And so you have a guy like Peterson who's probably good enough that if you aren't locked in on him, that he can be a problem, especially with his hand in the dirt. He's been much better this year with his hand in the dirt. And obviously we know Reiger is one of the top guys in the country in terms of hurries and pressures. So you have other pieces that if you are not focused on as much, changes everything. And that front seven is legitimately good at this point. Like we have 14 sacks. Like we talked about it, 18 sacks all of last year, 17, 18, one of those two. And we had 14 in the last 3 weeks. And I would say I expect now these last 2 weeks, 4 to 5 sacks each game. And I say that because I think that Indiana is considerably better than both of these teams. And I do think that both those offensive lines are gettable. And I don't think that either one of those teams poses a truly scary run threat, which means you're going to be able to play downhill and really come after that quarterback. This is going to be a lot like the Washington game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Badger fan kind of chimes in and says, we just played a murderer's row schedule, toughest in the country. That should be helpful going into these last 2 games. Yeah. I mean, I absolutely feel like that what we were able to do defensively yesterday and going into the halftime 10-7, that's against Indiana. Indiana's likely Ohio State's biggest threat to win the national title. Definitely going to play them in the Big Ten championship game and might legitimately win that game and go into the tournament as the number 1 seed. This offense is insanely good. And our defensive linemen got penetration consistently. Daryl Peterson, 2 years ago, people were like, and ourselves, myself included, was like, get this guy out of here. And he had 3 sacks yesterday. Like, I mean, we need to give these guys credit. And we got to give Mike Tressel credit, Justin, because like I feel like he deserves it. I want to ask you about the secondary.
Does he deserve it, or did he luck into 2 stud freshmen that are making him look really good right now?
But that's a fair point. But like I do from a schematic standpoint, I don't have an issue.
They've been legitimately good. I will give him credit.
And ultimately, a couple years ago, one of the biggest arguments against Tressel was that he didn't have the guys to run his system. Well, he got the guys. Posa and Catalano are this staff's recruits, and they are running a good and they're playing well. So you do have to give credit to them. If we're going to give them flack when we lose, we got to give them credit when we win. Right?
To anyone giving him a hard time, I will say this too. He's responsible for the inside linebackers. Like they're legitimately his guys. Like, so anyone that wants to bag on him, both of those guys, like Catalano's kind of a layup, like, and it's kind of the same thing with Wenzel, where it's like you have a guy who's talented, you have to go after him if they're in state. And I feel like that's legit. You had to get that one. But Mason Posa could have gone anywhere in the country. And to get that one done, he's a difference maker. As good as Catalano's been, I feel like his light gets dimmed a little bit if Posa's not on the field. Because I feel like in some ways, the game wrecker that is Posa really allows Catalano to kind of just move about without people really giving him quite as much attention as he probably deserves.
Yeah. I mean, Posa and Catalano are just absolute monsters. Absolute monsters. Let's talk about the secondary a little bit. Obviously, the front seven, we talk about them. We're going to talk about them a little bit in our next segment as well. What were your thoughts on the secondary? I have not watched the All-22 of defense yet, and I'm going to do that. And I'll talk about it on my Tuesday Rajiv's Corner podcast, which, by the way, check that out on Tuesdays. Audio only. I've done 2 weeks in a row. good feedback thus far. So go check that out if you're interested. Just some deeper thoughts on different things each week. So go check that out on the podcast version. Matt Young had a pretty good week last week. We talked about him a lot last week and against Washington. He missed a big tackle yesterday, but overall the secondary, my contention first and foremost is that the sacks, some of those were coverage sacks. We have to give them credit because some of those throws, Mendoza is a really, really good quarterback who, if our guys weren't covering, again, I haven't watched the film yet. I think that's a really key point. However, certainly the secondary is the weakest point of the defense. What were your thoughts on how they performed yesterday?
Yeah, I thought Deone Hill was great in run support. He was terrible in pass coverage. He got burned on a just gimme route where it was just like Ryan said the other day, it was a 9 route that he just let him run right by him. And I realized, listen, you're losing the physical battle there because that guy's a 6'4" guy who's got long limbs and can really run, and you're 5'9" or 5'10", which means you really need to get him. You cannot miss your press on that guy. And there was no help. Like the safety had to rotate over just to get over there to make the tackle. So, I mean, the other one that was really a problem for me was Brown in this game. He seemed to step slow and everything. For as much physical talent as that guy has, we talked about it before, and it's one of the things that we've dinged Allegro for, and Allegro doesn't have it to this extreme. But when you see that type of athleticism, and you can tell that the issue is his instincts to a degree. And it's just that first, like, step that's just like, I should be going in this direction. Like, this looks like understanding that feel and knowing where to go so you're a step early, he doesn't have it. And he's consistently making up and, like, he's reacting rather than being proactive in coverage. And that's really hurting us on the back end. Not having Zachman is a killer right now because he actually had some of those instincts.
Zachman would have been great. Absolutely would have been great. He is out for the season at this point. I think they've marked him out for the season now. Theoretically could get a medical redshirt, Justin, potentially, and come back. I mean, that would be pretty spectacular to see Preston.
For his sake, he would deserve it because it's not like he's played a ton of football. Like, his first 2 years, he didn't touch the field. So in some ways I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it would be nice for him to get another opportunity. But who knows where he's at in life? I mean,
yeah.
And you have 2 young guys that potentially could be really ready to go in this next year in Dean and
Bork.
Well, no, Dean and at safety.
Oh no, sorry, never mind.
Who's the other kid from Minnesota? I can't think of his name right
now.
Emmerich, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Emmerich and Dean, I think with a year under their belt, are going to be pretty close to 2 deep guys, which means you got Young in there, and you're probably going to go to the portal for somebody that's maybe like a experienced guy to add in there.
Yeah, I would be great to see Zachman back. I will say, I thought Rico Hallman played okay yesterday. I thought he's fine.
Been very hit or miss this year. He looks really good one rep, and then the next, it's like, what the hell?
I think that there's been some improvement in his game this season. I think that he was one of those players where, like, when we were having our shutouts, I was like, oh man, I feel like he's just checked out. But to his credit, he looks like he's really played his ass off the last couple of weeks, and he graded out pretty decent yesterday. One of the better guys out of the secondary, certainly. Deone Hill definitely in coverage was bad, but I think the secondary is going to be an issue still. 22 of 24 for Mendoza is not good, although he is really great. That's not horrible. That's not like, I mean, he's had those numbers before this year. He's had a similar stat line with and against other teams. And against our defense, though, it shouldn't be that good. We did get to him. We did get in the backfield a lot, but the secondary needs to be better. Luckily, we're not playing another Mendoza this year. You know, we're playing Luke Altmaier and Drake Lindsay. Not as good, certainly. Illinois is a decent team, but again, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not trying to belittle them when I'm saying that I think that's a gettable game. I just think if you make Illinois one-dimensional, I don't think he's going to go out there and do what Mendoza did to you. Like, he's a nice quarterback. He's a good college quarterback. He's not a Fernando Mendoza type quarterback.
He's not, but our secondary has to play better. Otherwise, they're still going to get.
He's like they did against Washington.
Like Luke Altmaier is still going to be able to carve us up. Now we frustrated the hell out of Damon Williams, which is why and the secondary did play well, but we've got to get even more pressure on Luke Altmaier, and we can do that theoretically because their offensive line is not as good. All right, offensively, let's talk Carter Smith. Obviously, that's a big story. Carter Smith's first start. What was your initial take on him yesterday?
Loved seeing him hit the wide open pass for the touchdown. Other than that, he's a very big time work in progress. I do expect him to grow over the next couple of weeks in these last 2 games, but it kind of is what it is with him. Like, we knew that he had so limited reps that you were going to be fighting a battle to get him comfortable in this offense. When you've been doing scout team for like 8 weeks out of the season, you're not even working on the team's playbook. So for him, yeah, he's getting reps. He's just not doing really what we're doing. He's pretending to be another player. And now you have him out there trying to get the timing and get everything down for this offense. I expect him to get better. We saw to be clear, we saw a massive jump from week 1 with him in that package because he wasn't repped on the full offense to week 2. His timing and poise looked so much better in this last game. That said, he's got a lot of things to work on. Like the interception, that is a bad read. Like he legitimately that is an area where he's going to have to grow a ton. Just understanding coverages and what guys are doing. And it's clear on that play, he totally just did not know what coverage the defense was in.
Yeah, when I watched that play back, it was really pretty interesting. Like the defender, as soon as Carter turned that direction, he was actually the defender could have covered Vinny or dropped back, which he did before he threw the ball. He was already running backwards. All Carter had to do was throw it right to Vinny Anthony, who was standing there wide open. He would have got 8 yards on the play. Like that. I mean,
he had position. He was inside. Yeah.
But ultimately, I did like that they like the play calling. They did add more on his plate, like you mentioned, and that's fair. And I think that he did okay, right? I like that I think the read options, he made a couple bad decisions in the read options, in my opinion, but otherwise, I think he did fine. I would like him to be able to move a little bit faster through his progressions, but again, that's reps and timing. Certainly, the play that Justin you mentioned earlier on the all 22 that it was the first. It was in the first half where he ended up throwing a wheel route to the running back. I think it was Darian Dupree. And it was just, he overthrew him on that exact. He never looked to that. He literally
he looks back.
He looked left. He immediately locked in, and Tretch was running from the right slot and literally was wide open. The safety would come up. He was wide open. Would have been an absolute touchdown, or at the very least a 35 or 40 yard gain, and put us right in field goal range. But he missed him. That's going to happen. But I do like that. Ultimately, I feel like he has the arm. He just needs more time. And I don't think Grimes did him a ton of favors ultimately in the second half either. I think there could have been a little bit, but there could have been better play calling. But I'm happy with Carter. I think he's doing fine. I think the biggest question is over the next 2 weeks, are we going to see enough from him to where, because we have to think about who we want in the portal. Is it going to be a starter? Is it going to be do we think Carter can play next year? Do we think we're wanting having a veteran backup, or, that's, what do we do next year? I
think at best you're looking at it where you give Carter the opportunity to compete for the starting job, but you have to go for a starter. The guy who I've been looking at that I think is somebody that they've legitimately may look at is Colton Joseph from Old Dominion. He's looked pretty good. He fits our style big time. Very mobile, lots of QB runs, has a good arm. It's not a cannon. I would say he's probably on the same level as Carter right now. And the biggest thing with Carter is I want to see him drive the ball more. And this is what happens with young quarterbacks. Like, I don't think anyone's truly seen Carter's real arm this year, because a lot of it is knowing what you're seeing and just being deliberate in those throws. And when you're a quarterback that doesn't truly know you're making the right decision, I have a hard time believing you're just going to let her rip and just throw rifle shots all over the field. If you are, it's going to have no touch and it's going to go all over the place. But I just feel like with him, a lot of it is he's just not totally understanding what he's seeing, and so he's hesitant on some of the throws. That'll get a lot better. But I've kind of started digging into this. Low key, this is going to be a really rough year for portal quarterbacks. There's not a lot of guys out there you look at and you're like, this one's a lock to be moving up and is a really good player. There's a few guys that I think are probably a given, but there's going to be a lot of money coming towards them for people that are going to be looking for QBs. And maybe we'll get lucky and a lot of the big time teams aren't going to be looking for a guy. But right now, I think Wisconsin's going to have to pay to get somebody really high end. And I don't know how many of those guys are out there. Like we see this year, $2.5–3 million for a guy like Mateer. I don't think there's a guy like that this year that you look at and you're like, this guy's ready for the jump and looks like a stud.
Well, we don't know who's going to leave, right? Ultimately, it's when the transfer portal opens, we find out who actually goes. And there will be a lot of people going in just because it's only one window now. So if you want to leave, you got to leave in December.
That simplifies things for
it does. It really does, because it allows you to go out there and quickly assess who's out there and make a play. Hey, they said investment was coming. Chris McIntosh said we were going to invest, so we should be able to pay a couple $1 million for a solid quarterback. And that definitely
cannot be a season where they are unwilling to go pay market rate. Like, you're going to have to, if you're going to be serious about this, that is one of the primary positions that Wisconsin has to invest money in. You have got to spend big money on a quarterback if there's somebody that you like, and you cannot get outbid. Like, that is not an acceptable. If this team is looking at it and they're hearing $2.5 million for a guy, you're going to have to do it, because if you're serious about this, that's where your investment needs to be. And there's going to be a lot of money coming off the books. Let's be honest. There's a lot of young guys next year that are going to be in more improvement mode than are demanding of high money. So the roster itself, I'm not sure how much money is locked up. So you may have some money to work with at Wisconsin.
Eric Matheson says Danny O'Neal is going to transfer out. There's no way he doesn't. Not that he is a starting quarterback, but our QB depth is going to be weak. Yeah, I think our entire QB room theoretically could be gone. I think Carter Smith's going to stay now that he's got some time and he's still got a red shirt. So I think he stays. But yeah, I mean, Billy's obviously going to go at this point. I can't imagine he stays with a medical red shirt. Danny's going to go, but we're going to need something. We're going to do some stock up, stock down, and we're going to talk basketball. But before we do that, Justin, I want to talk about one thing
for you on Danny. Do you think that, I don't know if he's a lock to transfer out, given the fact that he doesn't, like, he's going to have to redshirt next year. I don't think that he's going to be ready for next season with an Achilles injury. Like, basketball is one thing to try and come back from that. Football has been consistently like a year plus for guys to come back from that injury.
You're right. You're right. He probably would stay and not play, medical redshirt, and then leave.
Yeah.
But he's not going to play with us anymore. He's not going to be a Badger anymore. I guess that's my point. He might be on the roster next year, but he's not. He's going to take a medical redshirt. He's not going to see the field. And I think he'll keep his eligibility from next year, go somewhere else. But he's not going to. I don't think he's putting on his honor uniform anymore. That's my point. He's
going to probably have to go down to a MAC team or something like that.
Well, I mean, he came from San Diego State. He probably could go back down there or something like that. You're right. He's not going to play at the Big Ten level. He's going to take a step down, and do that. Before we get into stock up, stock down, and then basketball, Justin, I want to talk about Jeff Grimes. Ryan, on our reaction show yesterday, he talked a lot about the 23 yards of offense, not good enough. I think he did a show earlier today about it as well, about just overall, like that's one of the things that's splitting opinion, because it was so poor offensively in the second half. And I watched every offensive play in the second half on the All-22. There just wasn't that many of them, because at the end of the day, there were a couple bad calls on 3rd and 9. We turned the ball over. He turned the ball over twice. Really, really bad turnovers. What are your thoughts on Jeff Grimes moving forward? Are you happy with him? Are you comfortable with him being the OC next year? Where are you at right now on Grimes?
I'm fine if they keep him. I'm fine if they get rid of him. Like, either way right now, if we end up going into next season, I think you have to do your job and give him the players he needs to be capable as an offensive coordinator. But I also look at it and say, if you want to move on, I don't have a problem with it at all. But he's not running his scheme right now. Like, the offensive line, like, I know we've seen improvement from this offensive line. It's still like a D+, C- offensive line. Like, they're not consistently opening holes for us to be productive in the run game, and honestly, they haven't been great in pass blocking. I think there's been miscommunications consistently over the last couple of weeks, which are not helping Carter out. So at this point, I look at it and I'm like, well, you have to give him like a decent set of players where you look at it and say, is this truly a him problem or is this a player problem? Because if the offensive line is considerably better, do we hate him as much as people are right now? I don't think so. I think the running game is probably coherent and probably solid. Like, if Ituka was running behind a legitimately like B- offensive line, he's probably running for 100 yards a game. Maybe. And right now, we don't have remotely that. I think it's gotten better, and I think there are pieces there. But this is what you and I talked about. I think you need 3 or 4 guys where you're like, some of these young guys need to be pushed. They need to feel like they have to earn their position, and that will help everybody. because you need that type of depth in that offensive line that if somebody does go down, you've got bodies there that you are comfortable with, that they can be quality starters in this offense. Because right now we don't have that. Like, you lose somebody. I mean, Heinzen's fighting the good fight at center. He has no business playing center, but it's working to a degree, but it's not what you want there.
Let's get some comments from the community on this. Bo Dragon Grimes can't get the ball in Vinny Anthony's hand. He's horrible. Michael Wagner, I don't think you can fire him. Zach Barnes, Grimes has been terrible this year. Alien Space, Grimes sucks. We also have a couple people that liked him. I just can't find the comment. There we go. John Schwegel, love Grimes. So look, here's my take on Jeff Grimes. First of all, I said this earlier. I don't think it's very difficult to judge an OC when you're on your fourth string quarterback and your fourth and now fifth string running back. It's not ideal.
Fourth string center.
Right. It's not ideal at all. And the offensive line has been bad. But ultimately, he is an offensive line guy. I do put the blame on him for what happened in camp with offensive line. And of course, AJ Blazik, like that coming into this season with a line that had Davis Heinzen playing left tackle was poor coaching. I think everyone can agree on that. That has to fall at the feet of Jeff Grimes. He is an O-line guy. That's what his specialty is. And he's the offensive coordinator. There are times where I like his play calling. Certainly the first half yesterday, I thought that there was there was a shovel pass to Jackson Aker, which was very good. Certainly the fourth and one touchdown pass was good. There were other plays like the one I mentioned earlier where Tretch was open that I think that had another quarterback would have seen him and would have been a touchdown on that play. So I like you. I'm okay if he leaves. If they're like Luke Fickell's like, you know what, we need to start over. New offensive coordinator. Fine. But I would rather have the consistency of seeing what he does with a starting quarterback who is healthy, with a better offensive line. I mean, certainly you're going to have Kevin Haywood back next year. You're going to have Brunner. You're going to have a portal center most likely. And then you can look at Cubberly and Mandel. Maybe you have someone else who can play another swing tackle or something. Maybe Mandel comes back into the guard position. Whatever happens, I think he can get better next year. I really firmly believe that. Well, I'm not out on him because ultimately we know Fickell's back. So if Fickell's going to be back, I'd rather run it back because I still think, and I've said this a lot, if Billy Edwards was healthy the whole year, I think we'd have a lot of different opinions about this offense and about Jeff Grimes specifically. So let's see what happens when we actually get a quarterback that actually plays all year.
The guy's had 2 years where he has an average like 30 points a game. And those 2 years, shockingly, are the 2 years where his offensive line has sucked, where he didn't have quality depth and they weren't able to put out a good offensive line out there. So it's to some degree, I look at it and it's like, this is what it is. Like if you're running an offense that is predicated on the run game and play action and your offensive line isn't good, you're not going to have a very good offense. I get it. It stinks. We're on our fourth string quarterback and he's a true freshman that is trying his damnedest to be good, but hasn't had the reps to see things out there and hit the plays that are there. Like, this isn't all on Grimes. Like you said with the Tretch play, that's a play that a more seasoned quarterback probably rips that one up the seam, and you have Tretch running for 30-plus yards. Mm-hmm. We don't have it right now. That's not on Grimes. That's on a quarterback not being able or not being experienced enough to understand the play and the defense that he's seeing.
Eric says the second half play calling was atrocious. It was. I watched it. It really was. There is really no excuse for a second half play calling as far as, like 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, running the ball. On 3rd and 10 is when Carter actually fumbled the ball on a read option. And I'm like, he needs to just drop back and pass. Like, give your guys a chance. There's no reason you can't have a deep shot to Vinny Anthony. It's incomprehensible to not give Jaden Ballard, Tretch Kahuna, or Vinny Anthony a deep shot in that game. There's no reason not to do it.
You want me to give my perspective on that one? I think that was let's get out of this one without giving them, a turnover here, because we're going to play field position and try to get the ball back without, if the defense stops them. I don't think the issue on that play was somebody flat out missed their assignment. And so Carter got lit up by an unblocked off defensive lineman that forced the fumble. It was still not a great play call in that circumstance. I understand them being conservative though, and just saying, let's live to fight another day, and hopefully we get the ball back if our defense can get them off the field and it goes better. But let's not do anything here that's going to put us in a bad spot. And that's where I think that Grimes is. I think he does play a conservative because he doesn't trust his quarterback. I think if this was a different quarter, like if Carter was a redshirt sophomore right now, he's probably letting it rip on that play.
But as you said earlier in the show, you're in evaluation mode. You want to see what this guy can do. So then why aren't we giving him chances to do that?
Because you still are trying to win the football game. And if that means you're not going to allow him to hurt you, which I think is legitimate. You're protecting Carter from himself right now because Carter makes some decisions that he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing on plays. Like that interception. He absolutely did not read that right. That was a bad read where he threw the pick. And that's the type of thing where you have to look at it and you have to protect him from himself because you have to be like, I can't trust him that if they get creative on this to not hurt us here. So I have to put him in a situation where it's unlikely that he's going to have a negative outcome.
Well, if you're down 24-7 in the third quarter and you're trying to win the game, 3rd and 9, you can't run the ball. Sorry, that's stupid.
I get it. I'm saying, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying I can understand how he got to that point.
Yeah,
with making that decision in that, and it's at that point in the game, you probably have to just let it rip and just live with whatever happens.
Yeah. All right, Justin, let's do stock up, stock down. We're going to each do a couple up and a couple down, and then we'll move into basketball. Stock up for me, my first one, Justin, is Chris McIntosh. Chris McIntosh's stock is up a little bit. And hear me out. I know many people were going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Chris McIntosh, like it or not, and I didn't like the way he did it. I don't like it it was behind the paywall. I don't like any of that stuff. But I will say that since he did that, the team has played better. And all of the noise around Fire Fickle is gone. So the only thing you have is football. And you have players giving it their all, young guys playing. We're talking about all we're talking about today is the players in next year. We're not talking about should we fire Luke Fickell. So I feel like Chris McIntosh in retrospect, has kind of done the right thing. And I think that his stock is up right now. I'm not bothered by it. I'm not bothered by it as much anymore because the team is playing better. And if he's going to stay anyway, I'd rather have the team play better.
I'm not going to give him a get out of jail free on this. I do think they are playing better. It doesn't mean that I think it's the right decision.
I agree.
And I think, to me, anything that happens going forward, I don't trust him.
God, Ryan really doesn't like Jeff Grimes right now. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I honestly feel like when it comes down to this with McIntosh, I feel like he's stumbling into success right now because things were looking awful when he decided to give the support on this. And it's like, there's nothing that you can look at from an evaluation standpoint and say, this is the right move. And now in hindsight, we look at it and it's like, well, now it looks better. It's like, okay, it could have gone either way. Like, it's not like he had some magic wand that he knew that this was going to happen. The defense is looking better. There are areas that are showing some growth, but I think it's to me, I'm not going to give him credit for something that I think that he's getting lucky on to a degree.
It just took some of the noise away from the program. All I'm saying is what McIntosh did now, looking back, took the noise away and allowed the guys to play football. That's, for me, stock up. What's your first stock up?
Yeah, my first stock up is honestly, it's Carter. I feel like he showed real growth this game, and I expect him to show more growth this next game because he's going to feel more comfortable still, and you'll be able to really drill him now in the QB room, looking at film and saying, "You see what you missed here," and he'll understand going forward a little bit better, looking at the defense, like getting these reps. He knows what he saw it on the field. I think what people look at is they want to take a look at film and just be like, well, he should see this or understand this. This is a guy who hasn't been looking at it on the field and seeing these things play out this season. And now he's getting the opportunity and he's getting the chance to really get the growth that I wanted him to, which is get him out there, let him play, deal with the lumps. because it's going to make him better getting the real experience. I think this is a kid who's super mentally tough. So I think it's like he's not a guy that I'm worried about breaking if he has a bad experience here this season. I think he'll grow from it. I think he's one of those kids that will put his head down and just get better. And that's why I think you need to just get him out there and give him opportunity, even if it's not going to look great for times. We just got into a point of the season where it's like it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. If he can, whatever we can see from him, we can live with the negatives.
My next one, no disagreement there. My next one is, we've talked about it a little bit already, and Zach brings it up as well. Stock up defensive front seven, 5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss on a good offensive line. That's exactly what mine was. It's the entire defensive front seven. The top 4 players in PFF grades for defense yesterday in this game: Daryl Peterson, Charles Perkins, JVR Suggs, and Brandon Lane. The entire defense, those were our top 4 players as far as PFF defensive grades. I mean, incredible, absolutely incredible up front. But we've already talked about that one a lot. What's your second stock up?
Yeah, I'm on the same one there. I mean, honestly, we have come such a long way. We are now in the top 50 for sacks in the country. We were at like 80 plus not long ago, and now we're in the top 50. And I feel like we're probably going to be moving up further yet this season. I think we're legitimately looking at a team that's probably going to finish with 30 plus sacks, which with the first half of the season, I never would have thought that was remotely possible.
How many sacks do we have on the season so far?
I believe we're at 24, but let me double check.
That's great. That's great.
We are at, that number isn't right. Yeah, they haven't updated it yet. After yesterday, we had 5 sacks, so we should be at 26.
Okay. All right. My first stock down is the offensive line. When I watched that all 22 yesterday, holy cow, there were a lot of issues on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And namely, I have to say, Davis Heisman did not have a good game. It was pretty rough from an overall. I was pulling up some of the blocking grades, but it was pretty bad. There were times where plays were completely blown up. And honestly, Heisman has looked pretty good at the center position since he started there. Cubberley's looked okay, and I thought was improving. Last week I said he was improving, but I thought the offensive line yesterday was poor in pass pro. There were times where plays, again, we talked about the Jeff Grimes play calling and watching the all 22. The plays could have developed, but the offensive line did not give Carter Smith enough time. There were a couple opportunities.
They've had flat out missed assignments.
Yeah, there were more on Heisman yesterday than I saw on anyone else, and a bit on Mandel cover. The entire right side of the line, I think, was poor. But then also, run blocking perspective, I think Malman had a couple of big gaffes. So my stock down this week is the offensive line. I mean, I've been pretty high on them getting better. I thought yesterday was not their best day, and there was a little bit of regression. Now, again, playing a very good defense. Let's talk about that. But still, missed assignments are not the same as just getting shoved back.
Yeah, getting manhandled. Yep. And that's, I think, one of the issues that we've seen with this line, and part of the reason why they've been poor this year. It's not a matter of them necessarily struggling with being able to maintain blocks and stuff like that. It's just a lot of these plays are getting blown up from the get-go because there's missed assignments or miscommunication, and you have guys that are just getting torched or blown up in the backfield because someone's not covering or blocking the guy they're supposed to. It's one thing to not be able to get to the second level. It's another to not even block the guy you're supposed to.
Yeah. And I was right. I hate Heisman PFF grade pass block was 43.6. Yikes. Yeah. Okay. Give me a stock down, Justin.
Yeah, I think it's the secondary. We had multiple plays. Like, I felt like the front seven played pretty darn well in this game, and the secondary just kind of didn't help them at all. And now I get it. You're playing probably the best quarterback in college football yesterday, but man, if you could have just made a couple of big plays, it helps that defense exponentially. And we probably would have been able to see that defense really bear down and start to look like it did against Washington if they just had a couple of big plays. To think you take a couple of those the long touchdown away and the play by Hill where he just got burned, that changes things a lot. Like in that game, if you have a couple of plays where a corner actually makes a play on the ball, and it just wasn't enough of it yesterday. And the same thing with Brown. He just was bad. Like he was consistently behind his man in coverage.
Yeah, like I said, I think Hallman was okay. I actually wrote down Matt Young as mine, so I guess I agree with you in that. As my second one, I think that, yeah, I mean, I also would say that we allowed 31 points on a good offensive team with 2 short fields, which doesn't help our cause at all. All right, let's switch gears to bat. Anything else you want to touch on football? Anything else you wanted to add on the Indiana game at all?
No, I mean, I think we're moving into the next week. You hope that you can develop the offense a little bit more so that you have some more flexibility and, go from 10 plays to 20 plays that you feel good about running with Carter, that you have some more flexibility about what you can do against an Illinois defense that I think is gettable and hopefully gives you some opportunities in that game.
We have to grow that playbook. We have to now there's multiple weeks of him actually being able to have the playbook installed, and let's see some more things. We are opening as 9.5 point underdogs at home against Illinois. I'm a little surprised by that. I would have called it like 6.5 or 7, but I'm not surprised ultimately that it's close to 10 because we haven't played that well. But 9.5, I think we can definitely cover that. I think we can win this game for sure. I'm looking at potential of going 2-0 here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we look at it the way this game plays out. If Wisconsin's going to win it, it's going to be like 20-17. It's going to be a close game. You have to find a way to get Carter better, and you need to be able to manufacture the running game. Maybe you get Aker in the backfield a little bit more as a running back and just kind of battery ram him. But you have to find a way to be physical and just work them. The defensive line is night and day from Illinois to Indiana. Like Indiana is a legitimately very good defensive line, and Illinois is very mediocre in that regard. So I expect the run blocking to be much better in this game. I expect them to be solid, and I think that overall their defense is a defense that Carter can. I don't think he'll be good against it, but I think he can be solid, and I think that that's a massive jump compared to what you saw compared to Indiana. Like Illinois, I realize people were saying they're 7-3. That's a team that Indiana took out behind the woodshed and beat. What was it, 63-10?
Yeah, it was
abuse, man. Like,
yeah,
that tells you like they maybe have a good record, but I don't know that they're necessarily a good team.
I mean, I will say this. I've said this now for two or 3 years. Luke Altmaier is a good quarterback. Like Luke Altmaier. He's a
good college quarterback, but I don't think that they have a bunch that you can say like, this is going to be a massive problem for us. We can't.
Well, if our secondary doesn't play better, he is going to carve us up. I mean, I'm telling you, that's a fact.
Yeah, the other thing is got to play well in that game.
The other thing is, how are we going to score points? Because that's a problem too, right? So, and listen. Thankfully, Gideon Ituka got some good news, and he was on the team plane yesterday. He clearly he was fine. Like, I don't know how hurt he is. I don't know if he's going to play next week. I would doubt it, but we're not able to run the ball without him either.
Unless we know what actually happened to him, it's really hard to evaluate what his availability is going to be this next week.
Correct.
Was it a concussion? Was it a leg issue or whatever? I have no idea. Like, it's really hard to know. If it was a bad concussion, I would expect him to have not been on the team plane. Like, I would have expected them to be like I'm talking bad concussion, like lost consciousness. Like,
but either way, if he has a concussion at all, he's not going to play next week.
Yeah,
he's going to be in protocols, dude. He's not going to play if he had a concussion. He's not playing. Like,
probably not a running back. Yeah, quarterback.
He's not playing. If he had a concussion, now it might have just been who knows what. I don't know, but nonetheless, we might see Bortolotti and a heavy dose of Darian Dupree. All right, let's move on to basketball, Justin. Ball State game was this past week. That was our only game of the week. It was earlier. And this week we've got SIUE and BYU in Salt Lake City. I'm going to be there with our good friend Kevin Brown, so that's going to be fun. Justin, so quick thoughts on the Ball State game, and also, does Nick Boyd shoot too much? I mean, let me just tell you this. Let me just go over this with you. He has a usage rate right now of 35%, which is the highest in the Big Ten, I might add. He is averaging 14.7 field goal attempts in his first 3 games, which is higher than Blackwell and Winter. Do you think he shoots too much?
Absolutely. I would like to see him facilitate a little bit more. He's always going to be a scoring point. I don't care, if he puts up a shot here and there, but I think you need to see him be a bigger facilitator and get more people involved. You have two other really good passers on this team in Rapp and Rhodey.
Rhodey, yeah.
If Boyd can get involved in that, this offense becomes borderline lethal with their ability to just find good open shots and attack people. And I think that to me is like where this opportunity for this team is to really go up a notch. I think they'll score on anybody. And I think that's kind of where you look at it. There's not many teams in the country that can score in bunches the way that Wisconsin can. They need to get some more consistency. And part of the way that you're going to have to gain consistency is Boyd needs to be able to keep things at a standard in terms of how we're facilitating offense. We fall in love a little bit too much with the three. You have times where you need him to drive the lane and get people involved and come downhill a little bit more. And that's one of the things. Plus, we got to get to the line. Like last couple games, we have settled a lot, and we have not shot as many free throws as we probably should be, and that's got to change.
That's the Tanjay effect, not being there. Tanjay would get to the line a lot because he drove the lane a lot, and he got
Blackwell
fouled.
too. Blackwell was typically too, but you're not. He's been so passive the last couple games. He's got to be more involved offensively.
So my take on Blackwell, and I wanted to bring this up because of that take that you just had. I think that he has been passive for sure, but we're also playing pretty shitty teams. And when we play BYU, I think we got one more sort of warm-up game, if you will, and then we got BYU. Then our schedule heats up, right? We got BYU, we got Providence, we got Florida. The next 3 games are going to be very, very heavy. So I think this is where Blackwell is going to get tested. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing that he's being passive and then he's just kind of like, let other people shoot. Boyd can shoot. I don't need to shoot that much. We're up 20 so early in the Ball State game. Did he really ever even have to try? Which again, I know that's not the best mentality and I understand that. But if he continues to be passive at the end on our next show, which is going to be after the BYU game, then I will admit that there's a problem there and we might need to do something. I don't think he's going to be passive against BYU. I think Boyd does shoot a little bit too much. And he does need to drive more, as you said, because he can get to the line. He is a really good driver of the ball, especially from the left. And so I want to see him do more of that. I want to see him pass a little better, but he's not the greatest passer, especially compared to the other guys. So I'm fine with having the additional scoring ability. I'm fine with having 3-4 guys that can really score because it means we can score on a lot of teams. I think he does improve us a little bit defensively, but Blackwell needs to take more shots, no doubt. If this usage rate continues for more than a couple more games, even really just one more game, we've got a problem. And Greg Gard has to step in and fix that. But I don't expect it. I really feel like this is just the first few games. We're playing crappy teams. Boyd's shooting up the lights. Like he's just going crazy. 35% usage rate is absurd. And he can't do that. He can't do that because he's not John Tanjay. And John Tanjay didn't even have that high of a usage rate. So there are problems with that.
I will say one of the things that Wisconsin may luck out to here, there's a chance that Keita might not be playing for BYU in our game. Left the game against UConn last night. I'm almost positive it's a concussion for him. He got up off the court after getting hit in the head and was woozy. So you're losing a guy who would have been a massive problem for Wisconsin in the paint because we don't have a good matchup for him at all.
Yeah,
he's
we definitely
big
don't.
Physical. Like he's a little undersized in terms of centers, but he's super athletic and he's really physical. And that's a problem that Wisconsin just doesn't really have somebody to deal with.
I didn't watch the BYU game. I know you did. I watched a very little bit of it. Tell me a little bit about what you thought of BYU in that game and against UConn. UConn, it was 84-86, very close game.
Yeah,
what were your thoughts?
For massive portions of it, they were getting their teeth kicked in, and then they stepped up and kind of locked in. The first half of that game I was watching, and I'm like, I don't know who the dude is for BYU. Like I know there's good players on the team.
Richie Saunders. Richie Saunders.
He wasn't playing like that initially in that game where I'm like,
too early.
Your team is stumbling a little bit here. You need to pick up the slack. He did eventually, but in the first half for a while there, UConn was just running them off the court. And then they started to chew back into it and came back in that game and made it really close late. They can shoot the basketball. It's going to be a problem. They have a really good freshman who took over in that game. Obviously, he was the kid that they paid $5 million to or whatever it was to come in there. He's going to be a problem for us because he's got size and he's got athleticism, but he's not exactly a bruiser.
Is that Debansa guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
He's not a super physical presence. He's just more athletic. He's more of a finesse guy than a guy who's going to be super physical. He's just very skilled for an incoming freshman, and he can shoot. So you're going to have to stay in his face. But I do think that Wisconsin can shoot in that game and stay with them. I think we're better defensively than we were against them last year. And I do think that it's much harder to defend Wisconsin this year than it was last year because we were so reliant on Tanjay to carry us at times. And I think there's legitimately multiple guys who can be a problem. We haven't had a game. We've scored almost 90 points in every game. And I don't think we've had a game yet that I've looked at and said we shot well in this game.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have to start doing that though, because we're playing much better teams. I did not watch the whole game. I only watched the first, part of the first half, maybe the first 20 minutes of the game. Not even that. I thought that BYU defensively, again, at the beginning, played quite well against UConn and frustrated UConn, shut down, driving lanes, passing lanes.
They were very physical.
They played well inside.
They played like they did against us in the tournament where they were just beating on us.
Which I am concerned about.
And that's
if
fair.
They play well defensively, we are not going to play that well defensively. We don't have that. We don't have the ability to shut them down like UConn did, for sure. And we don't have the ability to do what they did to UConn, even in the first part of the game. So we're going to have to shoot lights out in order to really compete here.
It's going to be really interesting to see how physical this team plays when they have to play physical, because they're going to have to play physical against BYU. That's going to be a game where it's going to be really one-sided.
Who's going to play physical?
I think there's a level up that a lot of these guys go. Remember, we've had games, these first 3 games, we've just effectively torched the hell out of the other team.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to play super physical with them because you're just dominating them. That's going to change. BYU, you can come out and play really well, and you may only have a 10-point lead. You're not going to be up 30. So you're going to have to go out there, and you're going to have to continue it, and you're going to have to fight for it in this game. It's not something they've had to do yet this season, and it's not something that they have had a game where they haven't been able to run away from somebody. You're not running away from BYU. They can put up points quick too. I do think that we're a little scarier in terms of how sporadic we are. I do feel like Wisconsin can jump on them and suddenly get a 15-point lead. The question I have is, can they maintain that, or will BYU reel us right back in right away because they're going to be more consistent?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely concerns me. And if it's going to be physical, it's going to require Nolan Winter to be physical. It's going to require Bilyaskis and
Bilyaskis is a big one for me because I think he can do it.
And Carrington is a guy that can be physical off the bench. I really like Carrington and what we're seeing out of him so far. So yeah, I think that we definitely can do that. I'm excited to be there. If anyone's going to be around for that game, send me a DM on Twitter. Let me know, and we'll try to meet up. I'm very, very excited. I'm doing a quick day trip, flying there, flying back. It'll be a lot of fun. Again, check out the audio. If you're listening to audio platform, it's already there. If you're on YouTube, go check out the audio platform for Rajiv's Corner, which will be on Tuesday, 20-ish minute show. 3 big things heading into the Illinois game will drop on Thursday. And of course, we will be back next Sunday to talk about that Illinois game and the BYU game and really look ahead to, of course, the Axe and really, really big games coming up from Minnesota. There's going to be some great Badgers games in the next couple of weeks with Minnesota and this Providence game, Florida. A lot of good stuff coming. Justin, final thoughts before we close the show today.
Let's have a good week. Let's hopefully figure out a way to beat an Illinois team that I would probably put on the same level as Washington, which means you go out there and you have to play lights out on defense and hope that you have some things go right on offense and get it done. And then when it comes to basketball, what I want to see is I want to see us prove that we can play with BYU. If we do, I feel like this team, the sky's the limit. That's a game I think that people are, I see Will Hanna saying he'll be surprised if we beat them. We can beat them. The question is will we maintain the level of mental focus in order for us to continue it in that game? But that's going to be a shootout. I expect that game to be in the 80s.
Yeah, we can beat anybody. We can really beat anybody. The question is, are we going to be able to shoot well enough to beat them? Because that's what it's going to take, honestly. For me, whether you were upset about the Indiana game, whether you were okay with it, I want to see more growth. I think that in the last really from after those 2 shutouts. The Oregon game got a little bit better. Washington game got our first win. Indiana game, we were never going to win, but we were in that game, played a really, really good first half, and then just kind of got the floodgates open in the second half. We have to come home now and work from that Washington game and that Indiana first half. We have to put on a show. If we go into the tank here at home against Illinois, then all of a sudden you're staring at Minnesota next week, and we're not going to a bowl game. Maybe theoretically we could at 5-7, but I want the axe. I think everybody wants the axe, and it would send a great message to this team, knowing that we have to keep this fickle guy for another year. Let's go into the offseason with some momentum. And so it's really important we build off this. There are positive signs. There are, as the show is titled, glimmers of growth. And we need to really work on that a little bit. We need to find ways to actually see things and grow upon them, because there really is there. And then we can look ahead to next season with a little bit of joy and a little bit of hope, knowing that things aren't going to change from a coaching perspective, but we can still get excited about it. Thanks for joining us. Check out our content during the week. We will see you back here on Sunday night next week. And as always, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report Podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.